Sometimes disasters expose not only the vulnerability of infrastructure, they also reveal the truth about ourselves. By watching this report on the climate events of the past week, you will be able to understand what choice you would make in a critical situation. Indonesia. 3 days of heavy rainfall on the Indonesian island of Bali caused widespread flooding. Rivers overflowed, submerging many areas, including major tourist centers. According to local residents, this flood was the most severe they had ever experienced. Several businesses temporarily halted operations, and rice fields were inundated. In the tourist area of Kuta in Badung Regency, people navigated the flooded streets using surfboards and inflatable boats. In some places, water levels rose to 1.5 meters. Residents and tourists panicked after spotting a giant python in the rushing waters. Evacuations from flooded villas and hotels were carried out using boats and canoes. Police officers assisted tourists in leaving buildings and transporting them to safe areas. 60 people were evacuated from a single hotel. Australia. A deep and slow-moving area of low pressure created a highly unusual weather system that led to large-scale flooding in Australia. Since February 22nd, the cyclone had stalled over the Simpson Desert. Drawing in moist tropical air masses from the north, it triggered powerful downpours across most of the country. In many regions, nearly a full year's worth of rainfall fell within just 1 to 2 days. On February 25th, some areas of South Australia received more than 200 millimeters of rain. In the state of Victoria, the rainfall was so intense that on the Barrier Highway, between Broken Hill and Peterborough, a heavy truck became stuck in a flooded area. In the city of Mildura, water flooded streets, pastures, parking lots, schools, and a major highway. It should be noted that such heavy rains are considered extremely rare for this state. In northwestern Queensland, in Mount Isa, the wettest February in the city's history was recorded. 319 millimeters of rainfall turned the parched land into lakes. On February 27th, the largest city of New South Wales, Sydney, was also struck by intense rainfall. More than 3,000 people were left without electricity, and in the western part of the city, residents of about a dozen homes were evacuated. After the heavy rainfall, specialists warned of a new danger. Due to the murky water in rivers and along the coast near Sydney, the risk of encounters with bull sharks increased. More than 10,000 lightning strikes were recorded in Western Australia. In the state capital, Perth, an elderly man was injured by a lightning strike, and his dog was killed. Later, in the eastern part of the city, lightning struck near a school. 2 teenage girls were injured.
In the area remain extreme.
By March 1st, the severe weather had reached its maximum intensity in the southeast of the country. In the town of Eurelia, in South Australia, a fast-moving torrent of water swept away a motorcyclist who was attempting to cross the flooded Foggins Creek. The man died. Flooding partially destroyed the Trans-Australian Railway near the port city of Port Augusta. Sections of track up to 100 meters long were washed away, and train traffic along the east-west route was suspended.
WA and SA to the eastern states could be out of action for more.
United States.
Wow. Oh, it's getting strong here.
Since February 22nd, the northeastern United States has been gripped by a massive snowstorm. More than 40 million people from Maryland to Maine were placed under blizzard and winter storm warnings.
Tracking a monster winter storm that's brought life to a standstill for 10
According to the National Weather Service, atmospheric pressure dropped by 39 millibars within 12 hours. This value is almost twice the threshold required for a system to be classified as a bomb cyclone, indicating the enormous power of the storm. The interaction of extremely cold continental air and moisture-laden oceanic air triggered extreme snowfall. In Providence, Rhode Island, a snow cover of more than 85 centimeters was recorded, an absolute record since instrumental observations began in the early 20th century. In the city of Warwick, snowdrifts reaching 97 centimeters exceeded the level of the historic blizzard of 1978. In some areas of Long Island, more than 75 centimeters of snow were recorded, while strong winds for several hours reduced visibility to nearly zero. In Boston and southeastern Massachusetts, wind gusts reached up to 133 kilometers per hour, and in coastal areas, including the island of Nantucket, they exceeded 150 kilometers per hour. As a result, hundreds of trees and power line poles were brought down.
7 states.
In New York, by the morning of February 23rd, at least 30 centimeters of snow had fallen. The city was almost paralyzed, school classes were canceled, and the streets were deserted. 4,000 workers were deployed to clear roads, sidewalks, and public transport stops. An unusual phenomenon, thunder snow, was recorded at the height of the blizzard. During the night, lightning split the sky over New York, and one strike hit the tower of One World Trade Center. The storm severely disrupted transportation. More than 10,000 flights were canceled across the country. Suburban trains and buses were temporarily halted or switched to a reduced schedule. In Philadelphia, bus service was completely suspended for the duration of the storm. In several states, including New Jersey and Connecticut, authorities restricted the movement of all vehicles, except those performing critical functions, in order to ensure the operation of emergency services. Many people spoke about the accumulated fatigue caused by constant winter storms. A resident of New Jersey, clearing the area near his home, said, "I've had enough of this. I don't want to see any more snow." Another consequence of the storm was large-scale power outages. At the peak of the severe weather, approximately 650,000 customers along the east coast of the United States were without electricity, nearly 500,000 of them in Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Delaware. About 900,000 school children lost in-person classes, and millions of residents were forced to remain at home. In major cities, warming centers were organized for those who found themselves outside during the extreme cold. The bomb cyclone led to the deaths of 12 people, intensifying the tragic picture of the season. In just 32 days of the current winter in the United States, a series of deadly storms has already claimed at least 150 lives. Brazil. On February 23rd, extreme rainfall struck the Zona da Mata Mesorregion of Minas Gerais state. In the municipality of Uba, more than 124 millimeters of precipitation were recorded in 6 hours, a level comparable to the normal rainfall for the entire month of February. The large volume of water caused the Uba River to overflow. Streets, residential buildings, and commercial properties were submerged. 3 bridges suffered serious damage, and 3 buildings and 1 house collapsed. 6 people were killed, and 2 others were reported missing. One of the most alarming situations occurred in a nursing home. Water rapidly filled the building, blocking the residents' access to exits. They were urgently evacuated to the upper floor, while some less mobile elderly people had to wait for help directly in the water. Significant damage was also reported at major car dealerships. Hyundai, Nissan, and Fiat centers were flooded. The rain also inundated a funeral home, and eyewitness videos show coffins being swept through the streets. The most tragic consequences fell on Juiz de Fora. The terrain intensified the destructive effect of the flooding, as the municipality is located among hills and valleys where heavy rainfall causes water to rush downward, destroying everything in its path. This time, the rainfall was enormous. In one district, the meteorological station recorded 191 millimeters in a single day. In some places, up to 80 millimeters of rain fell in a single hour, causing the Parabuna River and local streams to overflow. Murky water carried cars and debris through the streets. Bridges and access roads to the city center were closed. At least 20 landslides were recorded, and several neighborhoods were completely cut off. Search teams with dogs worked in the affected areas. Authorities described the situation as extreme. One major landslide occurred at night, destroying 12 houses. Due to flooding and landslides in Juiz de Fora, at least 63 people died. Authorities declared a state of emergency. all educational institutions suspended classes for several days. State and national civil defense units were mobilized to enhance emergency response. Just 3 days after one of the record-breaking rainfalls in the municipality's history, a new severe storm hit Juiz de Fora. Rainfall continued for several consecutive hours. Business owners were forced to urgently save their stores, scooping water with buckets and scraping it away. The downpour caused a sharp rise in river levels. The municipal hospital was flooded, a courier motorcyclist was swept away from the road, and the Santa Lucia stream overflowed near an emergency care point. This February became the rainiest month in the history of observations in Juiz de Fora. Monthly rainfall exceeded the meteorological norm threefold. Local residents are shocked that extreme weather events are occurring far too frequently. Colombia. On February 25th, a sudden eruption of a mud volcano occurred in the Colombian municipality of San Juan de Urabá. A bright fireball rapidly rose into the night sky, frightening residents of the densely populated area. Soon after, thick clouds of smoke and persistent flames appeared. Mud masses were thrown several meters into the air, and cracks formed on the ground surface. A state of emergency was declared in the municipality. Due to the volcano's proximity to a water treatment facility, the water storage system was damaged. The explosion burned vegetation, caused the death of livestock, and damaged the main road leading into the municipality. According to experts, the eruption of this previously dormant volcano was triggered by underground shifts that are most likely connected to tectonic activity in the region. According to preliminary information, no one was killed. However, as a precaution, residents of 3 houses were evacuated. Bolivia. On February 27th at 1820 local time, one of the largest air disasters in Bolivia's history occurred. While landing at El Alto International Airport, near the administrative capital La Paz, a military transport aircraft en route from Santa Cruz crashed. Preliminary reports indicate that the crash was caused by extreme weather conditions. During the landing approach and upon touching the runway, the aircraft lost control and was unable to brake. The probable cause is ice formation on the runway following a severe hailstorm. The plane, moving by inertia, slid for about 1 kilometer, destroyed the airport fence, entered a busy road, and collided with approximately 15 vehicles. The damaged vehicles included passenger minibuses, cars, and a truck with a trailer. Some vehicles were reduced to piles of twisted metal. One of the 8 crew members died in the incident. On the ground, at least 21 people were killed. Dozens more were injured, some critically, and 1 child lost both legs. The mass gathering of people seriously complicated the work of rescuers. The aircraft was transporting 18 tons of new banknotes to La Paz. After the crash, the bills scattered across the road, and people rushed to collect them. Firefighters initially dispersed the crowd with water cannons, and later police arriving at the scene used tear gas. About 600 military personnel were deployed to maintain order. The Central Bank of Bolivia stated that the banknotes were intended to replace worn-out currency, but they had not yet been issued and were not legal tender. By the bank's order, some of the banknotes were burned on site. This situation vividly demonstrates the values of our society, showing them as if under a magnifying glass. Upon seeing money, people lost vigilance and common sense. Basic humanity disappeared. Their actions interfered with saving those caught between life and death. Paper bills, even without any financial value, became more important than life itself. And this is happening right now, in a world where resources are more than sufficient for everyone. We do not live in a world of total scarcity, but in a world of distorted values. A world where food is available, yet people go hungry. Where technology is abundant, yet safety is an illusion. As catastrophes intensify, it becomes clear that what is happening today is only the beginning of large-scale climate chaos. Many countries are already living through a constant cycle of natural disasters. Nevertheless, real measures to address the problem are still not being taken. The planet is experiencing severe climate and geodynamic changes, and the presence of micro and nanoplastics amplifies their destructive impact. Yet, the majority remain indifferent. They do not care that somewhere people are buried under snow, that elsewhere catastrophic floods occur, or that someone has lost access to drinking water due to a volcanic eruption. All of this seems like a distant chronicle that does not concern them. However, when these events reach us, everything changes. Then neither money nor savings will help. Electronic funds can disappear instantly. A single powerful solar flare is enough. Money will not protect against the cold, gold will not satisfy hunger, and diamonds will not quench thirst. The only help comes from someone who simply happens to be nearby and decides to act. It may be a person you do not know, connected to you only by a shared extreme situation. Yet they can pull you from under the rubble, share water, or provide shelter from the cold. At that moment, your life becomes more valuable to them than any material wealth. The only truly sustainable resource is not oil, not gold, nor bank accounts, but the capacity of humans to remain human. Disasters are a harsh test that examines not only economies and financial systems, they test our humanity,